All right. Yeah, last Tuesday, I tried to upload last Tuesday's message several times, and it would not upload. So, like, okay.
I said, wait till Aaron.
That was Algo's fault.
Yeah, cause I would get to 35% every time, and that's where it stopped.
Algorithm.
Yeah, those algorithms, when they don't like what you're saying, they're like, we're gonna try to shut you down.
29.
And we're gonna start with verse 1.
No.
How many of you? No. How many of y'all enjoyed Sunday's message?
Yes.
Jamie's gonna be like,
I
yeah.
went back and listened to it.
That was good. That was real good. Because it's so on point, everything that's going on. I love how God is preparing us. You know what? Preparing us and making us ready.
Yep.
So tonight in Jeremiah 29:1, we're gonna talk about, this is where the children of Israel, and I'm not gonna go into the details of everything for time, but they were, in Babylon, and they were gonna be there 70 years, okay? And there's a whole thing to all that. So, I'm sitting here looking for my page, and it's like, okay.
You said read Jeremiah 29, verse 1.
Thank you, yes I did, yes I did. Oh, okay. It says, now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders. I remember we talked about that word residue, and it means what? Remnant. So see if anybody questions remnant, it also means residue. What's a residue? A very small, minute. Which were carried away captives, and to the priests, and to the prophets, and to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. After that, Jeconiah the king, and the queen, and the eunuchs, the princes of Judah and Jerusalem, and the carpenters and the smiths were departed from Jerusalem by the hand of Elisha, the son of Shaphan, and all these names, Gemariah, the son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah, king of Judah, sent into Babylon to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, saying, and you know, learning these names and really studying the lineage and everything is good, but I have to literally sit there and just take the time to study that, because there's even a lot in that alone. Verse 4 says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon. Build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. So what does he give an instruction to the ones that have been held captive? They're over here, they've been carried away into Babylon, and he's what? He says what? Build you houses. He didn't say buy them. I thought that was interesting. He said build them. And I was like, huh. He said, and dwell in them, and plant gardens, and eat the fruit of them. So what is it here when you see he's talking about building houses and dwelling in them? He's telling them, basically, you're going to start from scratch, and you're not going to depend on anybody to do it. Because what would happen if you go to buy a house? You have to depend on that someone to what? Sell it to you. You have to depend on that one. If you were to go get food and you didn't have your own garden, what do you got to do? Some may barter, some may have to have money. So what is he really doing? But they might not be seeing. He's trying to what? Strengthen them, teach them what to do in this place. By no, you put, as we would say, put your hands to the plow. Because how many of us, when we do it, and we start a project that we do with our own hands, it makes you feel so good when it's completed, because what? You've made it your own. How much better to know what you've started and what you've finished. You know it inside out, up and down. And that way, and we're talking about this place of preparation. A lot of us doing gardens. I'm learning so much that, for me, when I started learning about that, it's been years since I've done gardens. I mean, I grew up doing gardens, but we just did a little different. We didn't have all the resources and all the soils and all this. You just got out there and plowed, threw a little cow manure in it, throw the seeds down and wait. That was pretty much it. But now we are at a place that I'm seeing for me, when we first started this and I'm trying to learn everything, I tend to get overwhelmed with information. Does that make sense? You get a lot of information, you tend to become overwhelmed with it. Doesn't mean you shut down the information. Just means you basically what? You've got to start setting aside, okay, that's not what I need at this moment. As we've been taught, put it on the shelf. So what God has me do, he said, okay, let's look at what needs to be done first. First, you got to find out the season. You've got to find out how long it needs if you're going to start from a seedling, right? You need to know what kind of soil, you need to know what kind of temperature, you need to know the sun, all that. And I like it because once I started stepping back and doing it that way, man, these little things were popping up everywhere. I'm kind of digging it because I'm feeling like, look, because I know if I would have done it in my frustration, I might not have yielded anything. You know, how many of us have done things in our frustration, trying to just get it done, and it yields a hot mess or nothing at all? So he's telling them here, build you houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. Well, you know, back then too, when he was talking about building houses, you know, who's to say some didn't want to come in and try to take them from them? Who's to say that they didn't want to, you know, maybe give them away? But he's sitting there and goes, no, you build the houses. You dwell in them. Right? So many times people will sit there, and one of the examples that when I was looking at this is a lot of times we encourage people to go to church. And we'll go to church, but are we dwelling in the church? See, there's a difference than going to church than dwelling. Especially knowing you are the church. We're not talking building. That's what a lot of people look and they see as building. But we're talking about being a part of the church. You've got to dwell together, right? Right. It's just like with the vision here. You've got the vision's been cast, you have the visionary. So now what do you do? Until you can dwell in the house, you can't learn what that vision is. You can't learn the details of the vision. And that's what's beautiful. I love when I see creation growing because I get more of what? A vision. So here he's telling them, build you houses, dwell in them, plant gardens, and eat the fruit of them. Take you wives, beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there and not diminished. So the way he's talking, I'm like, well, that sounds like we're going to be here a while.
Right.
Right? So what are you going to do in that situation? Is it going to change your mission, your purpose? No, it shouldn't. He's going to find out, look, these are what you should do, because when you increase, it means in so many different things. It means to enlarge, to be exceedingly, to be full, to make great. It literally means, as I used to tell people, it means to go up, not to go down. It means to go out, not to go in, right? Because when you increase something, doesn't it multiply? Doesn't it expand? But he's telling them, take you wives, beget sons and daughters, take wives for your sons. So now we're going through each generation, are we not? So that tells us something. If people listen. See, so many times people want to be, well, man, this situation is tough, and I just hope I'm not here very long. What if you are? What if you are? You know, Pastor Danny was talking about Sunday, and I encourage everybody, go back to YouTube. Legacy Community Church of El Reno, YouTube. Listen to the messages, because they talk about what's going on right now. Things taking place right now. And you know, he talked about AI in the Bible, and then we look at AI in the world. And you can see it's type and shadow to me. And it's like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. We just have, until we have the eyes to see, or until it's what? Uncovered, revealed. It's all there. All of it. And he's telling them where you're at, in the place that you're at, I want you to increase. I want you to flourish. But look at the situation. And you be the increase. Why should what they're going through affect you? He's teaching them how to what? Self-sustain.
Right,
Is he not?
yeah.
He's telling them that's what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're doing here, and that's what we're learning here because of things that are going on. They're already in this position, and look, if anybody knows, Israel knows about these places. They've been in them enough. And you know, it's interesting too, because you see Israel when they come out of the wilderness and the generations that had to pass and die off before they could. And you would think that would be enough to keep everybody on point. But did it? No, it didn't. But you have to focus and you have to do it on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I heard the Lord say today is like, you can't settle. And so I looked that up, and settle, it is a law term, it is a legal term, but it also shows you something. It means when you've got two ideas and they don't agree, two thoughts, two decisions that don't agree, are you gonna just come together and settle the matter and compromise in the middle, or are you gonna hold your ground? Well, we've got the greatest thing we could ever have right here. I'm not gonna settle for less. I'm not gonna settle for anything less than what God says. First off, who I am, because if I don't know who I am, then I darn sure don't know what I have.
Right.
I don't know what I can do because I don't know who I am. And that's a big thing. A lot of people struggle. And one thing that and I'll get to that, stood out to me today, and I look when it comes to that place. So we'll continue on here. It goes, so that you, verse 6 at the end, that you may be increased there and not diminished. Do you know the church should always come out looking like they're on top, not the bottom? When you're going through something, you know how whenever you might be tired from your day. I don't like to look tired. Doesn't matter how I feel, I don't like to look tired. So what do? I'm like, okay, Lord, you renew my youth like the eagles, Father. Refresh me, Lord. Rejuvenate me, Father. Give me what I need. And I do those things, and I feel good. I feel refreshed. Because if we look at some of the conditions out there, it's like if that's what you think being Christ-like looks like, I don't want no part of it. Right? Yeah. So then it goes, verse 7, it says, and seek the peace of the city, whether I have caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord for it, for in the peace thereof shall you have peace. He said, seek the peace of the city, whether I've caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord for it, for in the peace thereof shall you have peace. You know, how many people do we know have lost their peace because they're so caught up in the things of the world right now? If you don't have peace, then you haven't done this right here, because my peace doesn't come from the world, but I have to have my peace to what? Walk in the world. I really do, because if I don't, then can I really be effective? I can't. And I'm one that if I don't have peace, I don't move until I do. I really don't. I've got to find out, why do I not have peace? Where did I drop it? Where did I leave it? Why don't I have it? And I have to check myself and find out. Usually it's because there's something in me I need to what? I need to deal with. I need to confront within myself. Because I should always have what? His peace. But if I don't, then I've got to find out what it is. And then verse 8 says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, let not your prophets and your diviners that be in the midst of you deceive you. neither hearken to your dreams which you cause to be dreamed. You mean I can cause my dreams to be dreamed? If you don't have the right thoughts, come on. If you are influenced by everything around you, you can cause yourself to have the wrong dreams and think they're God dreams.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, for me, I've been having a lot of dreams. Since I released my last dream, which was actually Sunday morning to Pastor Danny, because it was for him, I haven't had a dream since, because that's what God does. He does it in spurts. But I've also had dreams where it's like, okay, I'm not sure about this, so I've talked about my dream, and it's like, yeah, that ain't it. Just, so what? I'm not gonna focus on that. But when I'm at a place where all of a sudden everything we're doing and everything we're talking about, whether I'm in the sleep, whether I'm awake, I know not. Just like the Bible says, whether I'm in the body or out of the body, I know not. That's the same thing when I'm really hearing the voice of the Lord. Am I in a vision? Am I asleep? Am I awake? I don't know. But I do know that when I have those things, that it's important that I pay attention. And God's been shifting me where I'm experiencing some things that I've never experienced before, and I did it years ago, and nobody understood it, so I didn't either, so I thought it was a medical issue. But I found out it's not. And I've talked to Farron and Dee and Danny about it before, because I thought this is what these were, and then it's like, but what if it's not? So I started paying attention. I'm paying attention to what I'm going through. All of a sudden, I'll be in there and it'll move me physically. When I have these moments, it moves me. And that's letting me know, okay, there's something in me God's ready to get out of me. For me to tell, or me to do whatever I need to do. But until I do it, it just won't let me rest. I'm finding that out. I'm learning. Yay. And it's pretty cool now that I understand it better. Because I got born again in 99. I've been doing this thing a long time, and no one, out of all the prophets I've met, apostles I've met, all these gifts, these talents, these offices, no one has ever explained it to me. No one's even told me about just what if. Nobody's done that. And now that I'm looking at that, when I begin to feel it and take place, and then it's like focus on what's going on. Focus. And I'm like, okay, now I'm getting it. Now I'm getting it. And it's pretty cool. But here's the key for all of us. We all have in us the gifts that God has given us, but we have to focus when He's ready to use them. We really do. But in turn, we have to do like they did. You have to learn, like He told them, you've got to learn to build your house. You've got to learn not to just build the house, because you're part of the church. You don't help just build it, but you got to dwell in it. Because that's where, that's where God is. He's in us, but we're in Him, right? Isn't that where He dwells? But He's also teaching them how to sustain themselves, not to rely on what? The city that they're in. Is it a godly city? Of course not. He's even talking to them now. Look, this is what you get to do. And boy, that's just what, take you wives, have children, and let my children have children. Oh my goodness. Because what were we called to do in the beginning anyway? Multiply. Right?
Yeah.
Replenish. Isn't that what's supposed to take place right here? Let them see you flourish. Let them see you multiply. Let them see increase. Just like when we talked about whenever the children were, Moses was going to Pharaoh about letting the children of Israel go. Every plague that came didn't harm the children of Israel. It harmed what? The others. And then they wanted to take their stuff to keep it. Well, you destroyed mine, we want yours. No, you don't get it. It doesn't belong to you. It's not your stuff. We did this. And some people think that's selfish. It's not. It's not, because we have to realize we're in the world, but we're not of the world. And I don't want to partake of anything from the world. Right? I mean, seriously. So here he goes on and he says, so for thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, let not your prophets or your diviners that be in the midst deceive you, neither hearken to your dreams which you've caused to be dreamed. So that's telling them something. They're listening to the wrong people.
Right.
Yeah.
They're listening to the wrong people. And what does they do? Just what does the enemy do? If I can put the wrong thought in your head. Biggest issue somebody has? Well, I mean, I am just who I am. No, you're not. You're more than that. Well, I've got something to say. Don't I have something to say? Apparently not. Shh. When you find yourself in these battles, that's just the enemy stirring you up. Who are you really fighting against? Yourself. He said, okay, I've created the division within. Remember, house divided can't stand. And where's the house? It starts on the inside. This is why you have to go tell yourself who you are in him every day. If I'm made in their image, see, I'm not made just in his image, I'm made in their image.
Yes.
So that means there's a lot to me. But if I don't go find out what that is, then I can't operate in their image like I was created. Come on. So then he goes on and he says, for they prophesy falsely unto you in my name. I have not sent them, saith the Lord. For thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you. And perform my good word towards you. He didn't say work. He said his word. In causing you to return to this place. He said he's going to what? He's going to perform my good word towards you. Didn't he say his word will never return to him void, right?
Yes.
So what his word says he will do it. But people get caught up when they sit here and they realize, because now he's saying that after 70 years is accomplished at Babylon, that's all they heard. How many of you heard when there's a length of time until this is done, until that is done? It doesn't matter. If you occupy in that time, it'll go by just like that. And in the process, what will you learn? What will you take? What will you sit there and say, look what I've done? And he'll say, well, you've learned how to create. You've learned to do exactly the thing that I created you for in the beginning. But I had to give you the instruction, and until you do it, you're not going to see anything from it. You're just going to keep looking to the world to do it for you. Somebody that I know, I never had seen this part of them before, but all their life, I sat and I realized all their life, they've had somebody else do all the work for them. Everything. Except get them dressed, put food in their mouth, and take a shower. But I've seen everything done for them. They've never had to lift a finger for anything. Now here's what happens in that process. Over time, they grow up, they get born again, and then all of a sudden they've got a habit that has to be broken. Because see, that's an old man habit. Because now they have to realize that they have to do something. Because in the kingdom, you have to do something. God's not just going to what? Hand it to you. He's going to teach you what to do to bring it to you. But you got to do it to get it to you. And that's where he comes in and he makes all these things. We talk about the blessings, but the blessings are conditional. There's obedience in that. And if you aren't obedient, there's cursing. So this is something I used to do when I was studying about the blessing, and because I thought, Lord, I want to do everything I'm not supposed to. Not because, and I had to watch myself, because people get that blessing really hyped up, and then all of a sudden, what are you running for? You're running for the blessing and not him.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I would find myself, and I'd pull back, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm here for. He's just showing me the benefit when I do it his way, in his obedience. What's he telling them here? The same thing. I want you to increase, not diminish. But if you get your focus, and that's a carnal mindset, on the blessing, what's gonna happen? You've left God out of the picture. The blessing, the reward, as they would say, is what you got caught up in. So for me, I had to learn. So I went in. I didn't study the blessings right away. I studied the curses. Why would you do that? Because I want to know, for me, I wanted to find out what I'm not supposed to do. That was me. But then here's what happens in the process. Then you get caught up in finding all the don'ts and can'ts that I forgot what I could do. See, there's balance. There's balance in that. So I was then sit there and so caught up, well, I can't this and I can't that. And God's like, well, what can you do? Well, I don't know. He said, well, go find out. But nobody can tell me. I have to go find it out for myself. They can show me direction. They can show me instruction. They can show me scripture. But until I do it, am I really going to know it? No. Everybody good?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Then he goes on, verse 11 says, for I know the thoughts, and everybody, yes, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. He said, now those are the thoughts that I think towards you. And how many people run with that and go, okay, those are his thoughts. They're just thoughts until you put into motion what you're supposed to do so he can fulfill his thought for you. People think it's an automatic. It's just an automatic. Verse 12 says, then shall you call upon me, and you shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. You shall seek me and find me when you shall search for me with all your heart. See, that's another thing. Does anybody really understand what it means by all your heart? That's a pretty big thing. When he says with all your heart, it means that there's nothing else has your heart. Now hear what I'm saying. We talk about this a lot. When he's at work, he tells people, when they say, oh yeah, your wife's your number one, he goes, no, she's not, and she knows it. And that just floors people. They're, oh, what? And same thing with him. He's not my number one. He knows it. Because without my number one, there is no number two.
That's right.
There just isn't. Without my number one, there's nothing else. That I do it by my own hand. And I'm toiling and I'm struggling. Now, he says that we're to seek him with what? All of our heart, right? He says, when you shall search for me with all your heart. Well, let's go back to 12. We already know the thoughts he has for us, right?
Right.
12 says, then you shall call upon me. You shall go and pray. First call, go pray unto me, and I'll hearken unto you. And you shall seek me. And when you truly seek him, what? You will find him. And when you shall search for me when you shall search for me with all your heart, here's what people miss up. People get so spiritual, they think it's going to be solely through prayer that's going to happen, and that's not it. It's just like I said the other day. People sit there, Lord, show me how, show me how. He says, I did right here. This is how I showed you. But when you seek me here and then go into prayer, I'm going to even what? Then I'm going to begin to what? Reveal it. It's unveiled to you. It's all right. See, people don't think he's just not talking to me. He's talking to us every day.
Yep. Yeah.
Every day. But until I dive in and on purpose seek him with everything in me, I'm not going to find what I need. And I'll give an example. When I first got born again, nobody told me how to study. Nobody told me, look, King James is a tough read. But I didn't go to a different translation. I said, if this is the one I'm supposed to go to, this is the one I'm going to learn from. Well, it's too hard. There are words in there that crack me up. I'll read them and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I go find out what that word means. And then I find out, it doesn't even mean what I thought it did. But see, people take the American language, English, they use Merriam's definitions. Some are correct, but there's a lot that aren't. Because remember, God's deeper. God's thoughts are higher. His ways are higher. And I got to go to him to find those. So here, all he's doing is he's getting them in a place. I love so many times in the Bible, by God's instruction to try to get them to do something was actually trying to get them back in motion to do what he gave them from the beginning. It really was. But Jesus hadn't come yet. Well, he felt they could do it or he wouldn't have told them to. See, we got to stop sitting there going, I'm waiting on this, I'm waiting on this, I'm waiting on this. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. Right? Verse 14 says, and I will be found of you, saith the Lord, and I will turn away your captivity. I will gather you from all nations and from all places whither I've driven you, saith the Lord, and I will bring you again into the place whence I caused you to be carried away captive. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? Where are we eventually going to go? Where are we eventually going to go?
To heaven.
I'm going to go back where I came from.
That's right.
Right? But the thing people don't understand, that's not my final destination.
Right.
There's more. Why would God create us just for these few years? I mean, yeah, sin came, but he still has purpose for us. I know that's a lot. Some people are probably going, what? It's okay. So I want to find out what that is. I mean, if he's created the stars, the planets, the universe, all that, I want to see it all. Why would he create something that I can't see? Why would he create something I can't be a part of? Why would he create all these things? There is a bigger purpose that I don't believe we're aware of yet. Not fully. I know I get glimpses here and there. God shares things with me here and there, but it's like, man. So here he's saying, I'm going to bring you back again to the place whence I caused you to be carried away captive. Because you've said the Lord hath raised us up prophets in Babylon. Know that thus saith the Lord of the king that sitteth upon the throne of David, and of all the people that dwelleth in this city, and of your brethren that are not gone forth with you into captivity. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will send upon them the sword, the famine, the pestilence. Did he say he was going to send that upon the believers or the Israelites? Did he say that? And will deliver them to be removed to all the kingdoms of the earth, to be a curse, an astonishment, a hissing, and a reproach among all nations whither I've driven them. Because they've not hearkened to my word, saith the Lord, which I sent unto them by my servants the prophets, rising up early, sending them, but you would not hear, saith the Lord. Hear ye therefore the word of the Lord, all you of captivity, whom I have sent from Jerusalem to Babylon. How many times God got to tell them? Who sent them there?
He did.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, of Ahab, and the son of Kolai, and Zedekiah, and the son of Messiah, which prophesy a lie unto you in my name. Behold, I will deliver them into the hands of Nebuchadrezzar. See, gotta watch those Nebas, because there's some that are different. King of Babylon, and he shall slay them before your eyes. See, he's also letting them know, look, I know the situation. I know what's out there. You know, Pastor Danny was talking about you gotta let the wheat and the tares grow together, right? But you have to understand what the tares around you, and make sure you're not getting caught up with those tares. They will suck the life out of you.
Yeah.
And they won't, and that's the thing about a tear, they will suck the life out of you, but yet they're worth nothing. But what? To drain life.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they're worth. And I know that can be hard. We're talking to some people right now. There was a situation that, you know, you got to be honest with people regarding family. You've got to be honest with people because, you know, what greater family we belong to. We have to remember our parents were given a charge to get us here. But they're not the ones that keep me here. They're not the ones that are my final destination. They don't have that control. But they were given charge to make sure I learned. They were given charge to make sure I did what I was supposed to do. And if they didn't, it doesn't matter, because then comes a point I have to what? Be responsible myself.
Yes.
And I was talking to some people about this today. And talking about, you know, we can grow up a certain way, but there comes a point in time you've got to make a decision. Do you choose to stay the way you are thinking you're going to get a different result? No, not at all. You have to change. You really do. If you want to see change, you have to what? Be change. You've got to be that change. Everybody still good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotta own that.
Absolutely. But he keeps telling, he says, and I'm gonna slay them before your eyes, and all of them shall be taken up accursed by all the captivity of Judah which are in Babylon, saying, the Lord make thee like Zedekiah and like Ahab, whom the king of Babylon roasted in the fire, because they've committed villainy in Israel, and have committed adultery in their neighbors' wives, and have spoke lying words in my name. You know, so many people hear these things and they're like, get them, God. How many of y'all have heard that?
Yeah.
Especially when you used to watch the 10 Commandments, when Charlton Heston was in there. Everybody's like, get them, yeah, get them. It hasn't changed today. Same thing. But we don't hear the get them. We don't hear the standard that was then about get them. It's gotten
Nowadays, the get
so
'em is
laid
us.
back. It's gotten so laid back. But we need to have that more of that boldness. Get them. Skid them. For the kingdom. But if they don't want to come, it's not my decision to take care of that. He says, I got it. I got it. See, so many people are getting so angry and so mad. And I've had to watch myself with everything going on in the world. And the Lord's like, it's not like you didn't know. But are you taking it and using it for my glory? Are you taking it and using it for my purpose? There's something different about a righteous indignation than there is to just be mad at everybody and just want to go out for everybody. God said, I got this. But I need you in a place that it riles you up enough you're willing to do something different. And you're willing to stand when I tell you to stand. Right? Verse 24 says, thus shalt thou also speak to Shemaiah and Nehelamite, saying, thus speaketh the Lord of hosts and the God of Israel, saying, because thou hast sent letters in thy name unto all the people that are at Jerusalem, and to Zephaniah the son of Maaseiah, see those names, the priest, and to all the priests, saying, the Lord hath made thee priest in the stead of Jehoiada the priest, that you should be officers in the house of the Lord for every man that is mad, and maketh himself a prophet. Nobody can make himself a prophet, you know that, right?
Yeah.
And thou shalt put him in prison and in the stocks. Now, therefore, why hast thou not reproved Jeremiah of Anathoth, which maketh himself a prophet to you? For therefore he sent us unto us in Babylon, saying, this captivity is long. I like that. This captivity is long. See, they're already focused. See, like I said earlier, all they heard was what? The length of the matter. But then he goes on and says, build you houses and dwell in them, plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. And Zephaniah the priest read this letter in the ears of Jeremiah the prophet. Then came the word of the Lord unto Jeremiah, saying, send to all of them of the captivity, saying, thus saith the Lord concerning Shemaiah, the Nehelamite, because that Shemaiah hath prophesied unto you, and I sent him not, and he caused you to trust in a lie. See, now there's an accountability there. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will punish Shemaiah the Nehelamite and his seed. He shall not have a man to dwell among this people. Neither shall he behold the good that I will do for my people, saith the Lord, because he hath taught rebellion against the Lord. There's an accountability. And there's an accountability there that people have to understand. And he said, you know what, I'm not even gonna let him see all this. He's not even worthy of it. So we have to understand, again, God says wheat and tares are together, right?
Mhm.
But I need you to go prosper. I need you to go learn how to build for yourselves. Learn how to, what? I've given you everything you need, but now you get to take it and create the provision for it. However that's needed, grow your gardens. Well, you didn't just grow gardens just for you, you had to feed your cattle too.
Yeah.
You had to take care of all those things, right?
Mhm.
So, real quick, go to Colossians 4. And I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that ye also have a master in heaven. Continue in prayer and watch in the same with thanksgiving. With all praying also for us, that God would open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of Christ, for which am also in bonds, that I may make it manifest as I ought to speak. Walk in wisdom towards them that are without, redeeming the time. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer every man. And I'm going to stop right there. Now, we have to be aware of not just what we say, but how we say it, right? How we respond, and I've talked about this, but a lot of people just don't get it. But it's how we respond to comments, it's how we respond to jokes, it's how we respond. People are watching us. They're watching to see. So when he sits here and he talks about them that are without, he's talking about the outsiders, the ones that are unrighteous. He's talking about the ones outside of Christ. So we have to understand when he also talks about walking, he means this walk is a habit, it's a lifestyle. It's something you do every day. So when we sit here and it says walk in wisdom, it says every day you should habitually be walking in wisdom because of who you're around. That means you should be wise about what you say. You should be wise about how you say it. A lot of people think some of the things are funny that they say, but they're not, because they're not uplifting, they're tearing down. Or if you sit there, how many of us have heard people sit and we call them hentimonies? And that means they tell us all the goodness of God, but then when you sit and get to know them, then you find out how the goodness came about, a hentimony. Man, I sure do need this. Woo, if I only had this, oh man, I could, if I had this much money, I could go out and I could help my brother and sister over there take care of their bills. Okay, so see, you're not talking faith, right?
Right.
Come on. You're talking what? A hentimony. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah.
And this is where we are like, we listen, we pay attention to those things, and we're not giving in to those things. And people get upset and get mad. Well, that isn't nice. Well, if they can ask me, then they gotta be willing, I can answer them correctly. I'm just saying. So when he talks about the wisdom, he says verse 5, he says, walk in this wisdom. He means every day that the lifestyle that you lead, when you sit here and you walk with discernment, you have to use judgment about the things you do or the things you say in the presence of unbelievers. We're supposed to be winning them to Christ, right? And I know I've heard a lot of people say, that's hard. You know what? If you wanted something real bad and you didn't have the money for it, what would you do to get it?
anything I needed to.
Exactly. We need to learn to live this life out according to who God said we are. We're new creatures in Christ Jesus. So as a new creature in Christ Jesus, it's just like being a baby. When you're first born, you don't know how to say, "Hi, my name is."
Mhm.
You have to learn to speak. That's the same thing becoming a new creature in Christ Jesus. You have to learn your language. And a lot of people want to hang on to the old language. They don't want to find out God's language. So sometimes when people say things that are negative or derogatory, I'm just like, and I get my eyes go a certain way, and they're just like, what's wrong with you? I'm not saying anything because I'm not going to acknowledge it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to deal with that. We're always being watched. This is to be constant. So when he's sitting here and he's talking about walking this place towards them that are without, it means what? Towards the non-believers. Redeeming the time. Yeah, we talk about redemption. It means basically, here's an example, is when someone would go to a marketplace, they would buy a slave and give them their freedom. That's what redemption is. Jesus did that already. But redeeming the time, when he talks about time, yeah, it means kairos time, opportunities. People go, well, we've lost too much time. God is a redeemer of time.
Yes.
But to redeem the time, you have to be diligent. You have to be focused. You have to be disciplined. You have to be mindful. You have to be watchful. Right?
Yep.
What was he telling them when we were looking in Jeremiah? He said, look, this is what you got to do. But yeah, you're going to have to on purpose do this. That means in all this junk, in all your captivity, your bondage, you're actually going to become more free because I'm going to teach you what freedom looks like. Because they can't come take your houses because you built it. They can't come take your food because you planted it. See, that's a difference, and so many people get upset at the body of Christ. They're out there going more, 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 and the body should be saying, no, 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 let me teach you how to do this.
Yes.
And that's what we do here. That's what we do. So one thing, we can damage our influence because of lack of integrity or bad behavior. Let's look at patience. Now this is something that some people don't always agree with me on. But let's look at patience. People get excited when they become new creatures or they learn new things, but they don't give themselves enough time to learn it before they're out there trying to teach it. And then what happens over time, the zeal's there, but then frustration will eventually come if they're not getting the results, or if you're out there teaching something and then your lifestyle is not reflecting what you're teaching. So we teach people. I can't teach you anything that I haven't come from the place of what? Having to be taught first. Because I can't sit here, and if I don't put it into use and I don't sit here and apply it, then I really can't be a witness to you, can I? No, not at all. But you don't understand, I'm going through these things. What a perfect opportunity to take the word and show it up and show it out. Just saying. Because the word does work when you apply it. And again, it's to bring freedom. So we have to give ourselves time to learn so we get it on the inside of us. We can't be a know-it-all all the time.
That's right.
We can't. So something else that had stood out, a lot of people talk about this, and so I looked it up because I thought it was interesting. People sit there and they talk about, well, people preach from the pulpit. Do you really know what a pulpit is? It's mentioned one time in Nehemiah. Just the word pulpit, but the definition itself. And it was a wooden pulpit. But when you look that word up, it means to be, first off, it's meant to be a place where the voice of God is heard. That's what a pulpit is. So you all have a pulpit.
Yes.
It's your life, right? But in the Hebrew, it means a castle, a tower. And when we talk about the Tower of Babel, that's the same word. Because what is a tower? What is a castle? When you see it, it's majestic. It gives you what? Not just a voice, but what? It carries. Right? So in the Old Testament, when you begin to see that word, particular word, the word that's used in the Hebrew, it's used 49 times. But only the word pulpit itself is used one time, and that's in Nehemiah. And it was a pulpit of wood. See, people get so upset, they go, oh, do you think you can come at me from the pulpit? My lifestyle's pulpit. Is it not?
Yeah.
Isn't that where the voice of God should come from?
Right. Yeah.
So we all have a platform. It also does mean platform, by the way. But we all have a platform, do we not? Everywhere we go.
Depends on how you use it.
That's the key. Depends on how we use it. All of us. And are we gonna mess up? Well, of course we are. But the thing is, God knows when we're trying and we're seeking and we're searching, because he says, when you do, he said, I'll hearken to you. He says, I will. I'll hearken unto you and I'll show you everything. But he's gonna show it by this. People have to stop trying to sit and get it so spiritually out of the air. When get it in here and the rest will come. Right?
Yeah.
People have gotten to that place, they've just gotten out of the study of the word. But that's where he is.
Mhm.
And then he puts his light on it and it's like, bam! I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. So we have to understand, we all have to grow.
Yeah.
We all have to grow. And we have to be willing. And even when it doesn't look like someone's growing, as long as they keep showing up, then I believe that they're still growing. Because again, one plants, one waters, but it's God that gives the increase. Everybody good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna stop there.